one time for your mind. Slide one time for your mind. Slide one time for your mind.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
Hey, Coach.
Got a little bit of an echo?
Huh?
Can we hear each other talking?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I don't have an echo on my end.
I know what's going on. I know what's going on. All right. So we just fixed it. We fixed it. I doing something right now.
Yeah, Gammon says he can hear us, no echo, so we're good.
Right. Okay. So I'm doing something right now with my own audio. I had a couple of other streams open while I had this going on, and I heard wicked echo in my headphones, but I didn't want to. I was like freaking out, like, man, does he hear this? But no, we're good to go. I just had to do something on the YouTube side, but yo, we are here. It's me, your boy, the coach. We're here at the Coaches Huddle and another installment of the Faithful Review with my guy here, Tom Jensen, and we're closer to the season starting. We're officially 2 weeks out from us kicking off Monday night against the New York Giants, and we have a lot of news and we have no news. So quite frankly, and where we stand right now is, you know, the team seems to be getting ready for the first big cut of camp, cutting out from that 93 that they already have on their roster. We've seen some emerging guys from the rookies. We've seen some guys that are veterans that we haven't seen play. We've seen some guys that are veterans that aren't even in the building. So right about now, we've done our best to try to be positive and just see what the team has for us. But before we get into the show, man, how have you been doing, Tom?
I'm doing great. I went down to visit my dad in San Jose, and we watched the Olympic track together. We had a great time.
Yeah. Had some good times, man.
Yeah, that was so much fun. I hadn't seen him in a while, so it was great to be together with him.
I understand. So look, I'll tell you this. Right now, we got a couple of topics to get into. And I know that the top of the hour discussion is Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams. But guess what? We ain't talking about Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams right now. All right. What we want to talk about is what seems to be going a little, I would say, untalked about. Like, it's being missed. And that's Brock Purdy's development. And for what it's worth, when we first got Brock coming off of the bench in week 8 of the season, the third quarterback, one thing that we loved about what Brock brought to the table is that he assimilated and fit so well with the weapons that we already had, right? He fit well with not only just the weapons, but with Kyle. Showed that he could be a guy that could be trusted with the offense. And we've had quite the roller coaster with Mr. Purdy. But now we're in a position where I feel like he's kind of in set it and forget it mode. A lot of us are kind of feeling as though that he's just going to show up in the season and perform. And that's a good thing. He's done that for us, right? Where he's given us the ability to kind of be okay with what we have in quarterback for a while. And we deserve that, quite honestly, as Niners fans. We deserve to have a boring quarterback situation, right?
Yeah, finally.
Exactly. But for me, he's not out of the woods yet. He's still young. And you have to ask, is this offseason conducive to Brock Purdy's development? Right? Not saying that Brock Purdy hasn't developed. He has. Brock Purdy is way better than what he was when he first came in the league. He's more comfortable with the NFL game. He's comfortable with the speed of the NFL game. He's gone all the way to a Super Bowl. So this is not that conversation. I don't want anybody coming in here feeling as though that we're trying to question Brock from A to Z. That's not it. But what we are sitting here wondering is that with your left tackle not being there, let's not even talk. I mean, Trent isn't gone. All right. But no starting guards there, right? Jake Brindle's in and out. John Feliciano's in and out, right? We don't know what we're going to do at receiver. Ricky Pearsall's been in and out. Jawan Jennings has been in and out, all right? George Kittle is nursing a core injury that he's just getting back over. We haven't seen him in real action yet. The offense is kind of, they're late bloomers. Let's just call it what it is. The offense has been late to kind of work on cohesiveness. At what point does this start showing itself with Brock Purdy? And I had that question earlier on when I was at camp, seeing how he was running for his life damn near every play in the first day of pads because they just couldn't protect him. But I feel like the question resurfaced when he played again against the Raiders against the Saints against the Saints in the preseason game. 2 for 6, 11 yards, 1.8 yard average, 1 sack, with a 42.4 quarterback rating. Now you could sit back and say, hey, Coach Tom, be realistic. This guy, he wasn't playing with anything near what a starting offense looks like for the 49ers. And that's true. Yeah. But when is he going to be able to start playing with the starting caliber 49ers offense? Has this affected Brock? And we'll get into the second half of whether we thought that the choice was right for him to even play in that game. But let's just deal with that first. But do you feel like all of this, uneasiness throughout the offseason, coupled with injuries, contract negotiations, and the like, do you feel like it's affected Brock?
I think it has. That part of the preparation for the season is you need to establish a rhythm and a trust with your receivers and your line. And Brock hasn't had that because it's a patchwork line and it's not the starting weapons. Mm-hmm. And so how can you develop a rhythm? How can you develop a flow and a trust when you don't have those pieces? The Niners are basically saying, well, we'll just push everything to the season opener and we'll be ready. There comes a point when you need to ramp up to that season opener. And if you don't have those pieces until the very end, mm-hmm. it's going to affect how you play against the Jets. So I'm starting to get worried that if these pieces aren't in place until the very end, how are they going to play? Now, this team needs to have a good start. And mm-hmm. the longer this plays out, where Brock has to play without a line, without his weapons, how is he going to get into a flow personally? How is he going to develop the level of confidence that he needs to play well? Now, I know that he can step in, and he's proven that he can do that in the past, but ideally, you still want to see some ramp-up time where you get a feel for each other. And Brock has been denied that, and his stats reflect that.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that Brock has practiced with us. I feel like in a way, Brock is kind of a silver spoon kid, where he doesn't know what playing on a bad NFL team even remotely looks like. There's a lot of things that you can adopt and bad habits that you could pick up as a quarterback when you play with a team that's really not talented. But Brock doesn't have that issue. But in a sense, if you look at it in a vacuum, I mean, what has been Brock playing with? What offensive line has he been playing with? He didn't get to have any joint practices against the Saints, right? And we're going to also be able to see what he does against Las Vegas tomorrow. But again, what type of cohesive offseason have you given your quarterback? As far as having an offense that he can actually develop and get better with. I mean, it can be, you can say, like, in a sense, even seeing him out there now, you want him to play, but
yeah,
I don't know what's with like having him play, where's the protection? You know,
Right.
like having him play and not making sure that we have more starters on the field with him so we can actually get some real work in and some real tape. I didn't understand that move by Kyle. What do you think about that?
I didn't like it because what if he got hurt?
Yeah.
Imagine that Purdy goes down and Kyle would have been excoriated. He would have been destroyed, and deservedly. And you have to look at this and say, this is your franchise quarterback now. You got to protect that asset. Instead, he's treating it like he always has with Brock. He needs to change his thinking. That this offensive line is patchwork. These weapons are not at the level he needs. So the weapons are taking longer to get open, and your line is too weak to protect you, and so Brock's running for his life. What are you learning? What are you gaining in your reps in that situation? I don't think you're learning or gaining much of anything. So I thought it was reckless to play him. I don't think he should have played given the line. But Kyle is going to naturally protect that line because he's responsible for it. His decisions are why this line is where it's at right now. And so he is going to protect himself by saying, oh, I trust this line. But look at their play. Does their play engender that trust? No. So it's one thing to say protecting the line because you're protecting yourself. It's another to expose Purdy to danger when he doesn't have to be. And his results, what do you learn from going 2 for 6? Not much.
Yeah, I just didn't see what type of real work was going to be done if he wasn't going to play with guys that he's actually going to be doing it with during the season. Right. In a sense, if we've done this year in and year out, so take this with a grain of salt, listeners. But Brock is not having a good camp. Like if we were to grade it, which it doesn't matter. All right, we OGs at this quarterback camp stuff. We have done this. I feel like we bought the T-shirt and they all not. Like we know this whole roller coaster of assessing quarterbacks through camp. We get that, but it's not everything. But it's something. Okay, and you do have to take into account that if you want to look at the team periods that you've heard about. You want to talk about the team periods that I've seen. I saw over 150 snaps of Brock during camp this week. I mean, for 1 week during camp, first padded week. Then the reports that you've been getting afterwards about where Brock's consistency is throughout team periods during camp. Right about now, I feel like it's not a big deal because it can't be a big deal. He's our starter. There's nobody remotely close that even can be put in that spot right now. So
I'm not really worried about Brock individually. I'm just worried about his time together with a line that's starting caliber and weapons that are starting caliber. I'm sure that when Brock gets a chance to play with those guys, he'll be fine. But when? The longer that when stretches until we're only talking days before the Jets game, that's a concern.
Yeah. So, for what it's worth, I feel like we'll know how this camp affected Brock when we get to see him in the raw over an extended period of time. I think that you just do him no service by putting him out in preseason games without like a real offense, right? Where we can actually move the ball and actually get some film down. I didn't see the use case. I didn't. Now, I mean, one thing that's awesome about it is that we found out that Dominic Puni is the starting right guard because that's what Kyle let slip out when he said that there were 2 starting offensive linemen on blocking for him during preseason. So that was dope for Kyle to let that slip out the bag that Dominic Puni is going to be slotted in as our right guard. But
and he should be. He's earned that. And Feliciano has the knee surgery. So
So I will say that I just think that you can't. If he's our starter, which he is, you got to treat him like a starter. You have to protect him like a starter, and you can't just throw him out there in a preseason game where he's running for his life. You know what I'm saying? You don't have no receivers that can get out there and actually run the offense. I mean, you had Trent Taylor at the 1 Like, come on, man. You're not.
That's not going to cut it.
That's no disrespect to Trent Taylor. You know what I'm saying? I think Trent Taylor is a hardworking player, but
he makes the most of what he's got, but he doesn't have a lot.
There's levels to this.
And in bigger picture, it's just what does Brock gain by doing this? But this is where they're at. It's just no Trent, no Aiyuk. This is going to be on you, plus a lot of the injuries that they faced as well on top of that. Fortunately, they drafted Puni, so he's ready to step in, and he's played well. His feet have looked good. His pass pro has been great. I'm only worried about his core strength in the run game of can he move his man off the line. But in movement, I think that Puni is proving that he can play and he can start.
Well, we're 100% right there. Yeah, I mean, we're 100% in lockstep with that. Pass protection, I think Dominic Puni is an immediate upgrade over what we've gotten out of Spencer Burford and John Feliciano in that right guard spot. It's just, and I think that he's an upgrade. I think physically he's an upgrade over both of them in the run game. I really do. He's as fast as Spencer, but he's way stronger than Spencer is. The only thing with Dominic is he likes to move people with the force of his body. He's got to be able to use his body technically to move people. He doesn't like using technique because he is so athletic. He's a very athletic kid.
And he relied on that at Kansas.
Exactly. He relied on that.
When you've got his strength, that's how you play. And he'll have to learn to play the NFL way, but he's got the core talent to be a great player for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that give him another year to power up, and he's going to be a force in the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So moving into that, let's get into the next topic, which is Aiyuk and Williams contracts. I mean, right now, that's kind of where we're at right now. Let's just put it out there. I put a poll in the chat, asking if we could confidently move forward into the season without Brandon or Trent Williams. We know the answer to this, so let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. We're not going to be facetious. We are going to put it out there. We know that the championship window or the championship endeavor or the quest for 6 or run it back, whatever dumbass name we keep coming up with every year, or rock and reload, whatever. Yeah. All of that's out the window if we start this season without Trent Williams or Brandon Aiyuk. I mean, can we agree on that?
Absolutely.
All right.
The history has proven that when Trent Williams doesn't play, they lose.
Right.
Go back to last year. He missed 3 games. They lost 3 games.
Right. So let's get into these contract negotiations. With Brandon, you're living under a rock if you don't know what's been going on with Brandon Aiyuk, or you clicked on the wrong channel. So we're not going to go all the way back to the very beginning. We're not going to do it.
That's played out.
Yeah, that's very played out. Quite frankly, this topic is played out.
Sure.
So I feel like right now we are literally waiting on the Pope smoke with both of them. Trent has been just a little bit less eventful, right? Like, we don't know all of the ebbs and flows of what's been happening between the 49ers and Trent Williams. We are very aware of what's been going on with BA. Right. But when did they get these deals done? There's nowhere to go. There's no deals to be had. Let's just go ahead and put it. There's no way that the Niners, they've got over $50 million in cap space. We are 2 weeks away from the season. This would be unprecedented, right? You can't think of a team that moved a player or players of Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams right before the season, and then we confidently went into the season saying, "Oh yeah, we're a championship caliber team." Like, come on, bro. We're not doing this. Let's go ahead and just level set. We cannot talk about a Super Bowl. We cannot talk about the playoffs. I said it. The playoffs. If we do not start the season with Trent Williams or Brandon Aiyuk, I'm telling you, we're looking at trying to make the playoffs.
Trent is the absolute. No Trent, no playoffs. It's over.
It's over.
And I've said before, Trent is the Super Bowl window. As long as he's playing and playing well, the Niners have a chance to contend, chance to make it, to get back to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
He's the absolute, and they know that. And I think that once they have the cost certainty of locking down Aiyuk to a deal, then they can move to Trent and get something done pretty quickly, because they know that after what they did for Christian McCaffrey, now here's Trent saying, "Okay, I want the same thing. I want a raise, I want guaranteed money, and I want language about how the contract happens going forward after the 3 years that are on my deal right now."
Mm-hmm.
So lock down and guarantee the next 3 years, and then give me language going after that to what could happen. He wants the CMC deal, and the Niners know they have to give it to him. Kyle knows he has to take care of him. Kyle knows better than anyone that without Trent Williams, this team goes nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you drop down to Jalen Moore, that can't work. And we've seen that in these exhibition games. You can talk up Jalen Moore all you want. The drop off from Trent Williams to Jalen Moore is the largest, steepest drop in the NFL at left tackle.
I know, Tom. I know. It's really bad. It's, I mean, and not for nothing. That's not even a Jalen Moore thing. It's just that Trent Williams happens to be one of the best linemen in the league, if not ever.
Right.
So, you know, it's going to be hard filling those shoes. I mean, this is maturity. You know, you want to know growth? I was talking to my therapist about this. I know I've grown because I want to talk about what we should have done in the draft this year and why we should not be in this situation with Trent. But I'm moving on. I'm choosing not to be petty, okay? Because I think everybody here understands exactly the road that I want to go down. And we're trying something new, Tom. We're going with healthy coach, healed coach. We gotta right these wrongs. Grounded coach. Got to be a little bit more grounded. All right. And I think that belaboring points that the fans know, that everybody else understands, that we feel we could just get closure. We can woo-saw it out and just say, you know what? That situation was suboptimal, but it challenged me. We're moving on. We're not going to sit here and freak out over the fact that we didn't get any tackles in one of the most tackle-rich drafts. See? You see how it almost got me? You see?
Yeah.
You see?
It's tempting. It's very tempting. But you have to deal with the reality that we now face. And everybody in the chat and the two of us know full well everything that we had to say about the draft and what they should have done.
Yeah.
And we've put them over the coals for it. And here's the fruit of our labor. We've got Jalen Moore starting at left tackle. We got Trent Williams holding out, and that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But all that said, I'm still confident that Trent will be signed and playing in the Jets game. And the concern that I have, though, is you look at Bosa's example from last year.
Okay.
It's one thing to be cardio shape. It's another thing to be in game shape.
Yeah.
That you are missing the opportunity of having Trent going against Bosa where iron can sharpen iron to go into the year. They need that. They both need that. And I'm worried that they're not going to get that because everything's going to happen the last minute. Aiyuk is going to hold out to the very, very, very end because that's how this plays out. And we're going to suffer the consequences of that going into the first game.
Why do you think
we're not going to get these guys doing what they need to get up in terms of the ramp up?
Why do you think that the deal hasn't been either reported or done yet? And what do you think the Niners are waiting for? What's the real holdup, right? Because I could just plaster this whole thing with it's Kyle, right? And I've done that a lot. But strategically, what do you think? Do you think that the Niners let's be pragmatic. Let's take the emotion out. Do you think that the Niners, they have the money? They have over $50 million in cap space. Do you think the Niners are trying to, get both deals done because they don't want like a BA deal to come out and it may affect their Trent negotiations, or Trent's deal comes out and it completely can blow up BA's negotiations? I mean, do you think that they're trying to get them both signed because they also understand that next year they got to get Brock signed? And not only do they have to get Brock signed, but they have over 25 free agents coming off the books next year. So, are they circling the wagons for what they know a storm is coming next year? And they're saying, like, guys, I know that it looks like we're not pulling the trigger now, but we're seeing this from a 10,000 foot view, and we can't make this decision now because that will absolutely kill us 6 months from now. So what do you think the real holdup is? What's going on?
Well, I think all of that is part of that in the background. It's in the back of their minds of, we have to make sure that we've created enough space so that we can sign Purdy and sign the important free agents and move forward over the years. But I think the holdup now is the Niners have made concessions, and Aiyuk is there saying, well, okay, you made some concessions, keep going. Yeah. He has always tied himself to the Amon-Ra St. Brown contract, which had a spike in the final year, non-guaranteed. And so what is Aiyuk asking for? Is he asking for that spike? Is he asking for the final year to be guaranteed? If it's the latter, that doesn't happen in the NFL. Nobody guarantees the final year of a receiver in their deal. They don't.
Right.
And so what is Aiyuk asking for? Is it unreasonable? And are the Niners saying, look, we've conceded on these points. You now need to concede on this one so that we can move forward and get ready for the year. And I think that's what's happening, is that the holdup is Aiyuk. Aiyuk is looking at last year and saying they caved on everything for Nick Bosa last moment. Problem with that thinking is that's Nick Bosa. Yeah, he's their
That's one-on-one.
He's their defensive MVP. He's one of the most important players in the team. They're not going to look at Brandon Aiyuk the same way or address him with the same importance. I don't think they're going to make a concession last minute just to get a deal done because Aiyuk wants his ego taken care of. They say, I'm better than Amon-Ra St. Brown, therefore I need to get what Amon-Ra St. Brown did plus a little bit more. I think that's what's going on. It's the immaturity of Brandon Aiyuk in wanting to hold out for everything and looking at what happened with Bosa last year and saying, well, I'm going to hold out and see because look at last year.
Okay. Well, let me push back a little bit then. Is part of this on the Niners for allowing BA to look at the market for so long, right?
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
part of your logic derives from the Amon-Ra St. Brown deal. There's a lot of cracks at bats that the Niners could have had with BA before that deal dropped, right?
No question. And that goes back to their strategy's wrong of the don't offer anything close to market value to open the negotiation and then drag it out forever. They need to get rid of that strategy. It's outdated and it's hurt and undermined by their history of always coming to a player-friendly deal at the end. So the players have no reason to sign a deal early because they can just wait and get everything they want late, and they get the double bonus of not having to show up to camp.
Yeah. I mean, I see Brother Bob saying, immaturity, damn, I used to love Tom. I'll say this. If we are going to do the blame game, nobody gets out of this clean.
Right.
All right. So could we agree on that? If we're going to do the blame game, nobody gets out of this clean. You know what I mean? BA has made mistakes. So we're not going to and that's your problem, Bob. Bob and other fans seem to think that BA has done he's made no missteps in this. This has been 100% him just sitting back, waiting for the Niners to pay him. And he's just this 100% victim. You know what I'm saying? Stop trying to make him a martyr. He wants to get paid. All right.
Right.
But the organization has other obligations that they have to hold as well that, quite frankly, they have more responsibilities than Brandon Aiyuk. All right. They have other obligations. So, I mean, come on, man. If we're going to get into the don't get into the who owes who and who's to blame. And let's start pointing fingers. I feel like, we can come back and just look at missteps, opportunities missed, right? Situations that had we seen back in hindsight, the situation could have bared out better, but for what it's worth, BA could have stayed quiet and he'd still be where he is right now. And that's emblematic of Trent Williams. We haven't heard a word from Trent and he's still and they're in the same boat, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Well,
though Trent knows they'll take care of him because they have to. Trent knows that. Kyle knows that.
So
it's a different context there. But still, with Aiyuk, with immaturity, I'm just saying that the immaturity is in this specific context, Bob, of I've seen concessions from the Niners in these talks in the last week. So I'm going to hold out expecting more concessions, and I'm going to hold out looking at what happened with Bosa. I think that perspective specifically is a little bit immature. You need to be more aware that Bosa is a different context entirely.
Yeah.
But if you assign blame and say, okay, who has the lion's share of the blame in this? The Niners. No question.
Yeah. It's
primarily on them. I mean, if I wanted to assign a number, I'd to like 80-20, if not more.
Okay.
But in this context, in this moment, I think that Aiyuk is lacking some judgment, that you can't expect the Niners to treat you the same way they will Nick Bosa. It's just holding out to the last minute, expecting them to cave like they did to Bosa is not applying context.
What makes you so confident that that's kind of like the strategy that he's employing?
Because that's what he's been about throughout. He's always been throughout this process of saying that I want my market value met. I define my market value as the Amon-Ra St. Brown deal. And until he gets that, he's going to keep holding out.
Okay. So breaking into the latter side of this topic, the Trent Williams deal, we understand that it's all about guaranteed money. As soon as his guaranteed money dried up, he pretty much was going to be playing, to the graces of the 49ers, honestly. Whether they want to release him, move him, waive him, cut him, do whatever they want to. Him going into a deal after him getting paid, without him having guaranteed money, completely kills his leverage, especially at the age that he is in his right now in his career. So, in a lot of respects, I think the fans can understand why Trent is holding out. It's kind of his golden parachute, if you will. I want one last bag before I hang it up. My only issue is that we can't get into like this quid pro quo situation with Trent where we're paying him guaranteed money on one-off years. Like 1 year you get paid, then we got to go through this all over again, right? Do you think that the Niners are actually trying to work out a deal with Trent? And is it a real deal? Is it really? I'm talking about a 3-year deal, him getting paid guaranteed for 2 at least, and him seeing out that 3rd-year deal with something on the back end. Or are we looking at a 3-year deal where he gets 30 up front and then we got 2 more void years because he bounces on us after a year? Like what can we see from a Trent deal? What does that look like?
If I'm Trent, I'm saying that I want what you did for Christian. Simple as that. I want a raise because he's not paid within the top 5 left tackles right now. I want guaranteed money on all the 3 years remaining on my deal. Mm-hmm. And then I want some kind of, we'll see, partially guaranteed or non-guaranteed money where it kicks in depending on both sides saying, yeah, we want to go forward, we want to keep doing this. Mm-hmm. I think Trent enjoys his money and enjoys playing. I don't think there's any threat or danger of him retiring. I think that he wants to keep going, and his play shows that he can keep going. Mm. So I think that he is correctly holding out for the Christian McCaffrey treatment, and he wants every aspect of that. Raise, guarantees, and future money after that.
Okay. I don't know about future money after that. I think that Trent just wants 1 more year. I think he'll get that guaranteed money. I don't think he's broke by any stretch of the imagination. But I do believe that he does want that sweetener, that one last deal. And it's going to be formulated in a year. I don't think I've been around Trent's career in like a Forrest Gump type of way. Like different places of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, well, he's there with Washington. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've been connected to Trent in like a very weird way. And I was here when he got drafted. And Trent has played for some bad teams. Okay.
Yeah.
Some bad teams. And he's been like hands down the best player, the only bright spot on horrible rosters. I don't think he has it in him to be here for the downfall. I don't think that he does. You know what I mean? I just don't see Trent saying, you know what? 4 years, sign me up. I'm here. I'm your guy. I don't think that he's going to like playing on it because he knows what that is. And
right. But here's the thing. The downfall is triggered by Trent leaving.
Mm-hmm.
As long as Trent's on the team, the downfall is lessened because he's Trent.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, he kind of controls that situation. I'm not trying to imply that Trent is broke. I'm just saying that when he's commented on his money, he's placed a lot of importance on it, a lot of value on it. He's talked about wanting to play throughout his entire deal. Mm-hmm. He has 3 years left, and I think he'll want those 3 years guaranteed. And then the fourth year is non-guaranteed but has money on the table, and they can talk about it then. But I think Trent wants to play for 3 years if he can physically, and we'll see. But I'm not expecting that he's only looking for one more year. I think he's looking for, look, you did this for Christian McCaffrey. Now you're going to do this for me. I'm a lock first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm one of the best left tackles in the league. I'm the most important player on this team. Take care of me. And you can't deny any of that because that's true. And Kyle knows it. Trent knows it.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think that when the rubber meets the road, they understand that offense is built off that left tackle being there. I mean, it accentuates the entire offensive line. It's hands down 50% of the run game. I think that this offensive line, if we're just looking glass half full, right? Because I do want us to be good, bro. Like, I hate talking about us like we're trash because we're not. But you have to be honest about what you see, though, right? Yeah. So sometimes it just annoys me when they don't give me good stuff to, like, brag on them about. But if I had to be, like, total fan right now, starting offensive line, Trent Williams, okay, Aaron Banks, possibly Jake Brindle, okay, Dominic Puni, and Colton McKivitz. I like that O-line, right? Like if that's better for what we had going into last year. You know, you can say that our offensive line was bad last year or that, it needs to be better. And I think they kind of the squeaky wheel because everybody else is so good and efficient. So when we do have issues, it's kind of like they are the redheaded stepchild. It's like, oh, here's the offensive line again. Well, what do you know?
Well, the offensive line is going to reflect the investment you make in it. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that they're going to be the lesser stepchild.
Exactly. But for what it's worth, that offensive line went to the Super Bowl. Okay? Yeah. So you got, hey, man, everything plays. All of the good and all of the bad, right? So adding Dominic Puni to what we have seen in the offensive line the last time we saw them constructed together, that's a plus. The offensive line it's an upgrade. It's a legit upgrade. Now, my thing about it is that I just want Trent to hurry up and get in the building because this is my issue with Trent. And I'm going to stay on this topic a little bit longer before we get to the next one. We know Trent is going to miss games. He misses games when he's at camp, okay? He's going to miss at least 2 to 3 games, all right? And my thing is that my fear is that because of his age and what it takes to get him ramped up and healthy and in shape for the season, all right? My thing is that we know that there's going to have to be a period of the season where we're going to have to get Trent in shape, right? Where Trent is going to be getting himself reacclimated to the game. Same thing with Brandon too, by the way. Just because Brandon's a receiver, he doesn't, he's not immune from this at all. And my only thing is that I don't want it to be a yo-yo situation where we're trying to ramp Trent up, then Trent gets hurt. Then Trent goes down. Then we're waiting for him to get back. Then when he finally comes back, he's back, but he's still not in shape. And then he gets hurt again. And then he's doing all of this shit at 36 years old. And then all of a sudden, the asset that we should have been pacing out the rest of his prime over the next 2 seasons and being careful with him, because we kind of tried to fit a square peg in a round hole where he came late, we played him right away, and now he's not in shape, and then his body won't carry him to the level of condition that he needs to anymore because he's not young enough to do it anymore. We may have bought a lemon, because there is a drop off, right?
Yeah.
You're the best in the world until you're not. That's just the way it works.
Sure.
Yeah.
Father Time is undefeated and all that. Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. But what you're talking to is just, there's a transition to go from cardio shape to game shape. And that's true for Trent. That's true for Brandon. Both of them need a ramp up so that they don't have to spend time in season trying to get to game shape and getting to recovery after getting that initial contact. That's the thing that I worry, is that you're not going to recover as well when you've only got cardio shape entering game one. That's why you need contact. That's why you need to have actual game shape by playing and making contact in camp. You've got to get through that period. If you don't, then you're always behind the 8 ball and you're always trying to play catch up. In Trent's case, he's such a pro that maybe that's not necessary for him. But I'm share your concern that it makes him more liable, more risky to injury because he doesn't have that ramp up to start the game. That's my concern. With Aiyuk, I think that it's going to be similar to what happened with Bosa, that you can be in cardio shape, but you can still be ineffective because you're not in game shape. And I think that's what would happen with Aiyuk.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now, Brandon Aiyuk, the absence of Brandon Aiyuk is going to be able to show up in situations, right? The absence of Brandon Aiyuk is going to be able, we need them both, right? Before we close this topic out, we need them both, okay? But I will say this, the absence of Brandon Aiyuk is going to come up in instances, right? It's going to come up on third down. It's going to come up in the passing game. All right. Even in some instances in the run game, right? Brandon Aiyuk is a great run blocker, right? The absence of Trent Williams is going to be evident play 1 of the season. It's going to be evident. You don't mess with the foundation of the house. You don't mess with the foundation. All right. That's a load-bearing wall that you're trying to knock out there, you little DIYer. All right. You're not realizing what you're doing. The whole place is about to come down. All right. So Trent is a load-bearing fixture to this house that we call the 49ers offense. And if you try to start an offense without Trent Williams, you're letting me know that you're not serious about the season.
Yeah.
Full stop.
It says everything, that this is the reason your offense runs.
Yeah. So it's a big deal.
Everything.
Yeah.
He's the foundation, as you said, that, why are the Niners a left-running team? Trent Williams. Why are, look at what's happened with Purdy and his stats and his performance and his trust level on the offensive line when Trent Williams isn't there. What's the value of Trent Williams just to Brock Purdy alone in his mindset and confidence in the pocket? And then what's his confidence for the team in terms of, we know that when we run left, we dominate and we get yards because we have Trent Williams.
Tom,
you can't let that go.
Tom, I'll go one deeper. What's the confidence level of the defense?
Ooh, yeah. The Jets will be looking to feast. If they look at the Niners' offensive line and Trent Williams isn't on the field,
it's a whole different ball game, bro.
Yeah.
All of the things that Kyle has built into that offense is effectively a no-go without having weapons on offense that need to be feared. You need to account for Trent Williams when you go against the 49ers. And if you don't have that, it's just the trajectory of our success is completely altered.
Yeah. So if Trent Williams doesn't play, the Jets should be favored in the season opener.
You know what? We'll just stop it off at that. So speaking of the season opener, we have final roster battles. All right. So you, my bad, the Ninja Bike guys are going crazy on my neck of the woods. They're having a good time outside.
Yeah.
But we got final roster battles. Who's in, who's out. What we're going to do is analyze the players on the roster bubble as training camp ends, predicting who will secure a spot on the team. Now, Tom, you came out with an amazing article. And
it's not posted yet. I just gave it to you so that we could talk about it.
Right, definitely. Okay. Okay, Tom just put me on. I'm not going to spill the beans.
Oh, no, spill the beans all the way. It's going to come out later today, but
yeah.
It's just people are looking for it, they won't find it. So
okay, yeah,
we're
definitely.
Talk about it here first.
Yeah, this is a first read. All right, This is a first read. All right, so what we got right here is the 49ers position battles heading into their exhibition finale. Right now, there's a couple of not quarterbacks, but there's a couple of position battles that we want to get started with. So let's just start with quarterback. I'm sure you have the article up in front of you right now, Tom.
Yeah.
So this is a segment where, Tom gets a topic every show where it's his show. It's the Tom's Huddle right now. So, Tom, right now, do your thing, brother. Do your thing. You got it.
Quarterback, what we've got here is Kyle's favorite is Brandon Allen because he's a mentor in the quarterback room and he's somebody that he can trust. But on the other hand, you've got Tanner Mordecai, who Brian Griese handpicked as the UDFA. And Mordecai has outplayed Allen. He's got more physical skills than Allen. He's got more upside than Allen. And so this choice specifically is going to be Kyle versus Griese, Allen versus Mordecai. It's going to tell us a lot about Kyle Shanahan and his decision-making. He's saying Brian Griese's the guy that, in part, identified Brock Purdy. He's the one that's proven that he can pick a quarterback. And look at what's happened with Purdy. Can you now say that, therefore, he should be the one to pick and they should keep Mordecai? And so that's what I'm going to be looking at is who stays, who makes the 53, who's the third quarterback. I think it should be Mordecai. But I think that if Kyle is playing his favorites, he's going to stick with Allen. If you put Mordecai on the practice squad, he could get picked up. The team could take him on waivers. So that's a risk. And so what's Kyle going to do here? I think that he needs to understand that Griese's got a better eye for quarterbacks, and you need to trust that, and you need to go with Mordecai. Will Kyle do that? We'll see. If he does, it's a sign of growth for Kyle Shanahan to be able to step back and say, I'm not as good at quarterback eval as Griese. Griese handpicked this kid, Mordecai. Let's go with him. We'll see. That's going to be an issue. Then looking at the others, now running back is 5. That 5 is set. I'm figuring that Isaac Guerrero is the 5th, and he's their kick returner. Wide receiver is 6, and they have their 6. Aiyuk, Debo, Juwan, Cowling, Pearsall, Conley. The other guys are gone. Tight end, we'll see if it gets to 4. Kyle likes to keep 4, but the talent doesn't warrant it. So could you then say, we're only going to keep 3 so that we can keep another linebacker? That should enter their thinking, but I don't think it will. It's another test of Kyle. Is he going to do what he normally does? He's going to say, well, I need to keep 4 just in case of injury. But the talent isn't there. The 4th tight end isn't that good. You're talking about Jake Tongas or Cam Latu. Both should be cut. Now, if I'm the Niners, if I'm going to keep a 4th tight end, I would look at the roster cuts and see who I can pick. Cherry pick somebody off a roster there. So we'll see how that goes. Offensive line, historically, this is 9. And with Feliciano's knee injury, that opens up a spot. So you have the 5 starters. Then you got Jalen Moore, Nick Sakel, Spencer Burford. So it's who's the 9th guy? And that can be Jared Kingston, Ben Barch, Chris Hubbard. And how they play in the Raider game is going to go a long way in determining that. So that's how I see the offense. And, Coach, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I agree with you exactly how you feel about the offense. One of the biggest sticking points for me is that I like what Tom just has done. I think they will keep what they have with tight ends. Also, when it comes to Cam Latu, I mean, he's just not consistent, man.
No.
He's just He's just not consistent. And what kills me is that, you know, I like what Saubert is bringing us, but he's more of a savvier blocker. Like, you know, he's a little bit more aggressive than what you got out of Charlie Warner, definitely out of Ross Dwelly before. And I don't know. Has there any? I know this sounds like maybe a pipe dream, but maybe Mason Pline is somebody that they hold over and keep on practice squad. Somebody that may make waivers. I mean,
well, he would clear waivers. I think that he could be a practice squad player for him, but not the 53.
Right, definitely. With quarterback, the writing is on the wall. I mean, everybody knows that if Brandon Allen is on this team, it's because Kyle wants him to be on this team. Tanner Mordecai and Josh Dobbs have clearly outplayed Brandon Allen. Like, we all see it. So I don't think anybody here is arguing about that. And also, yes, and I agree with this, Digital. I think that Pline is going to be a guy in a year or two. That's why I feel like they're going to stash him away. But right now, for the context of the conversation, yeah, he's not anything that's going to be fit for our 53. Offensively, I do feel like because of the emergence of Dominic Puni, I do feel like that we have pretty much really strong backups now. I think that Spencer Burford is going to be demoted. I think he's going to be our backup right guard. I think that we're also going to be able to keep Ben Barch and Nick Sakel as our backup left guard and center. Jalen Moore is going to make it. And I think that, the odd man out is, of course, some of the interior guys. I don't think that Drake Nugent's going to make it. I think
practice squad, but not 53.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to make the 53. Thank you for clarifying. I don't think he's going to make the 53, but definitely practice squad. Also, I feel receiver wise, this may be Ronnie Bell's last year. Right now,
I don't think he makes the team.
I don't think he makes the team either. I think he's done. I think that this is time for us to say goodbye to Danny Gray. He's done this year. Tay Martin, I think he's gone this year. Really, I feel like for the receivers, it's going to be the cast that we already know: B.A., Debo, Jawan. But then you have to pick up Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing. And right there, I mean, who's left?
Then Conley.
Chris Conley. Sorry. Chris Conley. Yeah. So Conley is their sixth man. So outside of that, Ronnie Bell doesn't make this team. Danny Gray, he's done. I think Trent Taylor is obviously done. As far as the running backs are concerned, now this kind of bothers me because I think that Cody Schrader has done enough to make this team. I do. He's not going to, though. So what it is they're going to keep the picks and they're going to keep the relationships. And what I mean by that is that the top three we already know: Juice, CMC, Jordan Mason. Done. We already got three backs off rip. The other two is the picks in the relationship: Isaac Garendo and Elijah Mitchell. I think that we're going to keep Isaac Garendo because he's a pick. They just got him. They haven't even kicked the tires on him yet. And they're not going to let him go just because he wasn't participating throughout camp. And then Elijah Mitchell is just his relationship. And on top of it is that he's not I don't want to say it as if like Elijah Mitchell's a Nepo baby. Like, no, he's earned his position on this team. Yeah. It's just I just haven't seen a lot of production out of him on a consistent basis. And some of that is because of just opportunities, not even really because he's been hurt. So I want to be fair. So
CMC prevented opportunities for everybody last year.
He didn't want to let nobody play, bro. And like that's what blows me about Christian, bro. I'm like, man, for you to steal
he wanted his numbers, he wanted his bag. And so that's why.
And nobody sees it that way, which is crazy to me. Thank you.
That's what he was after.
Come on, man. Like I Christian kills me with that. It's like, man, give up the reps, bro. Like, you always want the stretch or the inside zone, but you don't never want to run no power. It's like, bro, can we just at least let Jordan run the hard shit? Like, come on, bro. So, I mean, I'm hoping that with the money that we just gave Christian, and honestly, Jordan Mason is pressing. Like, he looks like a starter. Now, on many teams in the NFL.
He's got starter ability. And I'm
Yeah.
hopeful that now that McCaffrey's been paid,
Mm-hmm.
that he's not going to push as hard because now he's in the situation he wants. He got paid,
Mm-hmm.
he got his bag, he's fine. Now
Yeah.
you don't need to put your pedal to the metal the entire
Mm-hmm.
game. Now
Mm-hmm.
you can take a step back and you maximize your money by maximizing your availability long term. So you have to take less of a role, fewer touches, so that you can maintain your career.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be ready and available a couple years from now. Otherwise, the Niners are in a position where they can just cut bait. And so I
Yo.
think that it's in Christian's best interest to say, okay, I need to be more of a team player and more of a mix so that we leverage this running back room. And it makes us a better football team and it helps me financially long term. It's the right thing to do.
Okay. So, all right. So I'm gonna just tell you this. I think that we'll be okay. I think we'll be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So you want to get into the defense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's
So
go.
defensive line, normally they go with 8, and the Niners lack depth here. So I think that there's a possibility that they're going to be looking at other rosters and look at cutdowns and see who might be available at edge and D tackle. So you've got Bosa, Floyd, Gross Matos, Robert Beal, Hargrave, Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott. So then the battle in the Raider game for the final slot, maybe 2. Kevin Givens, T.Y. McGill, Alex Barrett. All of them were good and bad against New Orleans, and we'll see. So I think that one of those 3 has a chance, but they also have to worry about the Niners going shopping and seeing what else they can do with the cutdowns around the league. Linebackers 6. So Curtis Robinson's emergence is a key important factor here, is that he's proved that he's starter quality linebacker now. He's up to speed. The game has slowed down for him. So you have Fred Robinson, Devondre Campbell, D. Winters, Jalen Graham. And then the Raider game is Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles versus Tatum Bethune. Neither of them are good in pass coverage. Both of them are good in run D. Fowles is a better special teams player, though, and he's faster. So that's what it's going to come down to is what's more important, having the run-defending linebacker that they can count on and plug in if there's injuries, or having the special teams guy. They might want to value the special teams more if they do than it's DFF. If they say that, look, this kid Bethune, he's led us in tackles in both games so far. He's always around the ball. He's got great instincts. We should keep him. So that's a debate, and we'll see what happens with the Raider game. My expectation is that they're going to keep Flanagan-Fowles. But
No.
I think that Bethune is somebody that they need to look at, though. If they cut Bethune, I think there are some teams that might say, this kid's played well, and his stats are going to make the argument for him for a team to look at picking him up.
I feel the same exact way with Bethune. I think that he's pressing. He started off slow, man. I feel like, and I brought this up earlier I forgot what show I brought it up, but he just wasn't showing a lot in practice. It seemed like the game was like a little too fast for him. He just seemed to kind of like be a beat off all the time. But if I don't tell you he got in that game and was a step ahead of everybody, I think that he needed to just get one good NFL game under his belt. And that's not even real NFL speed yet, but just for him to get out there and feel it and to watch him react out there. Now, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, like, I love what he gives us just holistically. He's a great special teams guy. He gives us that continuity of knowing the defense. He's somebody who we developed over a long time, so there's equity there, all right, which means that he's a culture fit. And when you have a team that's as top heavy as ours with as many superstars on the team, you need a lot of Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles on a team like ours. You need guys who don't want. Is it Foles or Fowles?
Fowles.
All right, Rob, leave me alone, Rob. So you know me over here because I'll be fucking words up, bro. So like, I looked in the chat. I was like, "Is it Fowles?" I've been calling him Fowles for so long. It's not Foles, right? It's Fowles. Come on, like, okay, Fowles. All right, so that's somebody who is kind of like a card-carrying member of the culture. right? You need guys like that. And really, I could see him making the team off equity. Like if it was like bumper to bumper, like what are the Niners going to do? But at the same time, Bethune was a pick, right?
Right, but a late pick.
You think a late pick isn't there?
Yeah, I think a late pick isn't valued as much. I mean, if he was taken 4th round or earlier, he's on the team. If he's after that, it's a question.
Yeah.
But with Fowles, it's just what you need at that spot at linebacker for a full roster is versatility.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem for Bethune is that he's limited. He's a run defending linebacker. That's it. So he's limited to a first and second down player as is. And that's going to factor in on top of special teams.
All right.
It's
so
Mordecai.
Hold on. So did you watch me and Jesse's film review?
Yeah.
Where I called everybody Tanner Mordecai? I see what you did there. I see, I see what you did there. Mordecai. All right, so I will give, I do understand exactly where you're coming from. As far as our defensive line, the real question is our defensive line. What I feel like we're to the point right now where we don't even know what we got. Well, we don't even know what we have interior-wise.
We know what we have. It's the starters. It's what don't we have? Good backups. And that's why I think they're going to shop. These guys, technically you can say that, okay, McGill, Barrett, Givens, they're in the competition for the final slot. They're not. They have to elevate their game to the point where the Niners can say, okay, we're confident in keeping this guy rather than who we can get in shopping. But I think there's no question they're going to go shopping. That they should go shopping at tight end 4 and at edge 4 and defensive tackle 4. They have to look at final roster cutdowns and see if there's a diamond in the rough they can pick up.
They definitely do have to shop. I think they got to shop at edge. They got to shop at interior defensive line. They may even have to shop at tackle. They have to do some shopping.
And tight end. Fourth
tight end. Yeah. So really what they know, and this doesn't bode well because usually we cut the guys that everybody else wants. That we're on the other end of the spectrum. And that's what I mean when I try to highlight what I love about our culture is that guys who don't make our team end up starting or helping out other teams in the NFL. That's how you know your standard is where it needs to be. And in a sense, man, I don't like that. I don't like that we are coming out of a full camp and we're still have to go back to the grocery store for knickknacks. Like, come on.
We're a buyer this year because they haven't drafted well in the 2 prior years. The good news about this year's draft is it looks like a solid draft. But the 2 years preceding that were bad.
That should have been a topic today.
And that's why they are now looking at shopping on final cutdown day. And I think they have to because who's the better talent? Somebody you can get off another roster or Givens or McGill? Yeah. I would take the other roster guy.
Well, and that leads us into our last topic of the show. Season readiness. Is the team set? Evaluating whether the team is fully prepared for the regular season based on recent observations and performance. So let's just talk about it. Let's go over the offseason. I'm going to give you 3 phases. We're going to give you offseason as a whole. All right. That means free agency, we're talking about OTAs, mini camp, okay? Then we're going to talk about draft, just flat out how you felt about the rookies, the progression of that. And then we have to get into finally preparedness, okay? So overall, just the off season, the free agency, the players that we picked up, the players that we lost, the guys who we asked to take pay cuts, free agency can go ahead, just lump in Trent and BA in there and CMC, lump it all in there. This is a catch-all.
Okay.
Have we been productive this offseason handling our pre-existing team business. Just
No.
with all right. Tell me
No.
how you feel about it.
Well, you needed to take care of BA earlier. You need to change your contract negotiation strategy. You needed to understand that after you took care of McCaffrey, that Trent was going to ask for the same treatment and that he's earned that. And you have to be proactive about it as a way of recognizing that we know your contribution and we need you to know how much we value you.
Right.
That should have been done. So just on those two guys alone. Then in free agency, I think that they made the right choices. That Armstead's hurt too much to carry value. Sorry, English, second language for me this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Or what else can you do? And the problem is that, okay, you're now trying to Frankenstein an answer of saying that we're going to create Eric Armstead out of 2 to 3 guys. That might not necessarily work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure it will. But I think that they did need to move on from Armstead, at the very least contractually and in terms of player availability. That just he wasn't healthy for when they needed him to be that. They did need to move on. Leonard Floyd. I love the Leonard Floyd move. I think that that's the best edge that they've had in years, since
Mm-hmm.
before. And so I love that move.
Mm-hmm.
The linebacker move where they lost Eric Kendricks, that was a blow. I didn't like that they didn't do much of anything elsewhere. That I think that there should have been more volume in free agency than there was.
I agree with all points. I wish I could have pushed back on a couple of things, but just, the turnover is something as well. Getting the defensive coordinator situation done. They were late on that. That came down to the bitter hour where we were saying, like, are we going to go into the draft without a DC? Like, we need to sign somebody quickly. Being able to supplant the loss of Adam Peters with 2 guys, elevating 2 scout guys from in-house. That took a long time. Trying to figure out how that was going to move. Moving forward with the contract negotiations and how swift they got CMC's deal done to how they took forever. It's just, they haven't just made sense. You reportedly offered Eric Armstead $6 million, but then only took like a haircut from Juice, which was not even a pay cut at all. It's been confusing. But at the end of the day, what I will say about the offseason side of our team is that it only accounts but for so much. We still got to go out there and play the games, right? So,
we need to remember that this is still one of the most talented teams in the league. That who you have in house is excellent.
We always need to remember that, right? We always need to remember who we are as a team. No matter how much we bitch and moan and shake our fist at the sky, we also need to realize that this team has afforded us to be able to have these issues, right? So never forget that. As far as the draft, how do you feel about the picks? What you've seen from them thus far? The emergence. I mean, it's no secret. One of the bright spots of camp are the rookies. It seems like relatively all of the rookies have found a niche or at least shown worth immediately as to why they got picked by the 49ers. What do you feel about the draft? Also, you better not leave out Ricky Pearsall. I want you to talk about.
I did like the pick. Well, I predicted for them that they would go with Xavier Legette because I think they needed a more physical receiver.
Right.
And we've seen with Pearsall that he's fragile.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he has the skills, and Kyle was looking at the skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't looking at the complete picture of the player. In the second round, I think that they kind of lucked into Renardo Green, that clearly they were looking at Rosengarten. Clearly they were shocked that Baltimore took him ahead of him. They shouldn't have, and he was mocked there. And they didn't react. I mean, the issue that I have with the draft is that you have to plug into what the draft provides. And this draft was best in over a decade at tackle, best in over a decade at center, and very good at guard. And what do you come out of it with? You come out of it with Puni. But then look at how good Puni has been, and that tells you how good this class was. Think of what you could have had Had you picked a tackle? Had you picked a center?
You know, that's why you're my guy, because that's exactly how I feel about Dominic. It's not the fact that I don't like what we have. I love Dominic Puni as a player for us, especially at guard. He's an upgrade. You got to call it. He's an upgrade.
Sure.
But if this is what you did in round 3, imagine what was out there, bro. Like, man, they don't value it. They don't value it. Like, we got the cream. We barely scratched the surface in this year's offensive line draft, and we ended up getting a guy. I don't know. And then, let's be honest. There's people listening to this right now who are looking at that from the other spectrum, where they're saying, what are you talking about? They went and got what they wanted. They clearly took what they needed. They didn't need a player in excess, but that's recipe versus diet. It just so happens that they went and got the right ingredient for the recipe that they need. But I don't know. We could have left an all pro. We could have left an all pro out there in the draft this year. Who knows?
Yeah.
As far as Ricky Pearsall is concerned,
available, especially at the Pearsall pick.
I mean, everybody was available. So let's stick to that real quick. I mean, this dude's got to show and prove. I get that he's hurt, and he's, once we finally see him, this narrative is already going to be in the trash. But are you worried about his physicality? Like, are you worried over the fact that the number one vulnerability that he had outside of all of the upside, the polished route running, the hands, the agility, the matured approach to the game, the route, the polished routes, all of the stuff that we said, oh man, well this will work great in our offense. The number one thing that came up was he has a problem getting off press man, and he's not as physical. All right. Sometimes he can get bodied, and if the game is a little too rough for him, he can shrink. Has it already happened?
Yes.
No, it hasn't.
And this gets back to Kyle looking at the skill sets where he says, I want a chess piece that does this, this, and this. Pearsall did that, so he checked the boxes for Kyle. But he stopped and didn't look at the context of, is this guy physical enough for the NFL? Can he hold up? He ignored that, as Kyle is wont to do. This is one of the, I've got a million issues of Kyle Shanahan, the GM. This is one of them. You're not taking advantage of what the draft provides. That's the big one. And Puni shows that, look at the talent level of this drafted offensive line. Then, Pearsall, you're so lost in the weeds of his skill set that you're forgetting that he doesn't have the physicality for the league. And here he is. But I will say this, that there have been problems in past drafts of guys they had to redshirt because they weren't ready. And now the irony is that the one player in this draft that's probably going to redshirt is Pearsall. Everybody else is going to play. And that's a good draft.
You know what's crazy? I found the perfect analogy for how Kyle evaluates players and goes and gets guys. You ever been to the hardware store and they're trying to sell you the all-in-one hammer with the it's a hammer, it's a saw, it's a leveler. You know what I'm saying? It could be an angle for you. If you twist off the hammerhead, you could put on. It comes with all these fucking attachments. It's a sledgehammer now. Or if you put on the other attachment, it's a wrench. And you're like, dude, as soon as I buy that thing, it's like you want to ask the one question while you're going through Home Depot. Is it a hammer? Is it a hammer? Before it can be a saw, before it can be a leveler, before you can twist off the head paws and turn it into a flashlight, you know what I'm saying? Like, can it do its function? Can it drive nails can it do its job? And that's my issue with the Ricky Pearsall pick is I feel like we bought way too much icing for a little bit of cake.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's so well put. It's just you bought the features and forgot that you bought a lemon.
Come on, man.
It's got air conditioning and a great stereo. Can it run?
Can it run? Look, man.
Bad.
So we'll get off Ricky for now. But the rookies are showing improvement. I like what Malik Mustafa is bringing. I don't think that he'll necessarily emerge to starting on the team. He's not there yet.
He made some mistakes in run D against New Orleans that I think will keep him off the field.
Yeah. Josh, stop. Yo, Josh, stop, bro. Every time Josh come in here, he be with the shits. I got to watch Josh. Josh, I'm going to tell you, Josh is that friend that somehow gets out of class and is in the hallway trying to get your attention like, yo, what you doing in here? It's like, bro, come on, bro. I got a show to do. Josh always come in here or demon time. So,
okay.
Moving on with the draft. We've gone with the offseason. We've done the draft. Now let's go with camp. Just overall context of how you felt about the energy of camp, the workload. How prepared are we? How prepared are we?
I don't think we are yet. I think that part of that stems from what's happening with Aiyuk and Trent, but there's also a team-wide malaise that comes from losing the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. That emotionally you need to recover from that, and you want the most time possible to do that. Plus, you've played a ton of games where NFC Championship or Super Bowl year after year, and your body is just broken down. So I think that this was a recovery camp of they had to gather themselves physically and emotionally. And so it's understandable that everything gets pushed as far as it possibly can to the season opener. But can you then be ready in time to play the season opener? Or are you going to be pushing things to the absolute limit and saying that, okay, we're going to sign Aiyuk 3 days before the opener. We're going to sign Trent 2 days before the opener. I mean, it's at a point you're gambling too much.
Yeah.
And I think that's my concern with this camp is, you have to give them space to recover physically and emotionally, but you can't give them this much space because they don't ramp up and they're not in football shape.
Yeah. Well, one thing that is concerned is that we know that we're going to pay. We don't know how much we're going to pay.
Yeah.
But I think that's the gut-wrenching feeling is that we know we're going to pay. So when we get these guys signed, we're all football fans here. Everybody in here, nobody in here is like, I wonder what this football thing is all about. Like everybody here has been with the game in some capacity, whether you be a fan, coached, played, all three, whatever. Everybody knows what football is. And we know that there's a ramp up period. It's way too physical of a game to just show up, strap up and play. That's not how this game works. We all know this. So I think that's the elephant in the room about this is that we want them to sign, but we know we're going to pay for this. There's no way that Trent's going to show up days before the season starts and gets 1 week of camp in or 1 week of practice, not even camp. And, we're just going to move forward. That's not facts. And that's why we love football, because we get to see all of the narratives and get dispelled in real time, because ass is getting kicked right now. You can't you can't tell a narrative when you fight.
You can't avoid that.
You can't avoid it. Thank you.
In football, there are no shortcuts. You aren't available to just say, okay, well, I'm just not going to play and then I'm going to show up for the opener.
Right.
You're going to be ready for it. And we saw the proof of that with Bosa.
Right.
There's always a transition to getting in game shape, and they're getting close to the point where that ramp is starting to go
shorten up. Yeah, they don't have enough runway to take off. You need enough runway to take off into the season. All right. And that's the best way I can put it. You need enough runway to take off into the season the right way. And the Niners are running out of runway. We're quickly running out of space to take off. All right. And you may lift off from a short runway, but that altitude is going to get your ass and you're going to crash eventually. You'll coast, but you're not really flying. So we are quickly running out of that space to be able to take off into the season the right way. And I'll say this, Vlad, I love your engagement, bro. So I'm not singling you out, but Trent Williams not in football shape is still better than Jalen Moore. Well, Jalen Moore is not playing defensive end. All right. That's like saying quarterbacks facing each other quarterbacks are facing defenses. They're not facing each other. Okay. Just like Trent Williams is not facing Jalen Moore. All right. So even if we get Trent Williams back, is Trent Williams 1 week? What would you want to have? Trent Williams 1 week out from his own home gym in Texas starting a season, or do you want him here as soon as possible so he can go up against Nick Bosa? Because that's what you should want. It's not about Jalen Moore. It's about Nick Bosa going against Trent to actually get Trent ready. Because there's no Nick Bosas in Texas.
And Bosa.
And Nick Bosa. Exactly. Right? Because there's no Nick Bosas in Texas getting Trent ready. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So that's the main point. We understand that once Trent gets back, the beauty of it is that he's an instant upgrade to what we already have on the offensive line.
Sure.
But that's not the conversation, though.
Just that win the game. No.
Exactly. So let's go through a couple of super chats before we get out of here, man.
Okay.
So we got right here from Brother Bob for $2. Thanks. Off late. Wifey is late, but I'm not. Sup, everyone. I got you. Brendan Green, $2. Thank you. Bring back Joey Sly and trade Jay Moody for sixth round. Understand. And Steve Draper, $2. Thank you. Fire Show Coach. Thank you so much. Tom.
Thanks, Steve.
We have done it again, my friend.
Yeah. Great show, Coach. Great show.
Man, we've been churning them out. And a couple of things I wanted to get out. Tomorrow, I will be doing another live show during the preseason game. Okay. Have you caught any of those yet, Tom?
No, I will.
Dog, you got to let me know, bro.
Tomorrow. Well, because I've been on the road. But yeah, I will be there to watch it for you tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that.
Bro, you got to let me know how you feel about those live shows. I think they've been going pretty good. I want you guys' feedback on my live shows during the games. So I stream during the games now. We've been doing it 2 games. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of tight.
Okay.
It's kind of tight.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
one thing I want to share on preseason in context, it's way back in the day when I was covering the Niners, an assistant coach told me, always view exhibition games through regular season eyes. That's the filter you have to apply always.
Hey, bro.
I've always remembered that. That's how you need to look at that game.
Man, well, you know what? I used to have a coach that used to tell me, stay low and keep your feet moving. Hey, man, we love y'all, man. Tomorrow, got the live show tomorrow, man. See you guys out there, man. Have a great show, guys.